What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Odd Chopper channel, coming to you with a super late night edition of NBA and NFL Liddy's Leans, Likes, and Lots. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification button goes a long way for me on this video. It goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize of great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. Just doing a little recap of the NFL, doing my due diligence, and Hunter Henry nearly 2-1. That was useful in the touchdown department. He had a massive game. Wish I had laddered him to the moon. Knocks into moon, obviously tight end. Cincinnati, that's confirmed a thing. We also got Ashton Genty across the board, but the Saquon Barkley thing just hurts. And I know a lot of people that ended up taking all of the touchdown plays, parlaying them together, sent me the screenshots, and Jalen Hurts, man. And Philly loses the game, which is even more annoying. But 2 rushing touchdowns there for Hurts. Every time he goes down at the one, an angel loses its wings. So there is that. And also he had the near touchdown there for himself. Didn't even get a look there on second down. They just went right tush push. So yeah, it comes with the territory there of Philly. But Saquon, I thought, was a really nice buy low in that spot. Very disappointing not to get that one across the line. And the under was completely dead for Detroit. But overall, ended up making money in the NFL streets here on this video. Was ever so slightly down. Again, this has kind of been a bad trend for the last week and a half now for me, where the video has either been break even or a little profitable. And then I've had worse plays there in the premium Discord, which is not what we're going for. And I know a lot of people in the comment section are saying, oh, you only harp on you posted it in the premium Discord or something like that. How about the opposite? It's been the opposite now for the last 9 days as I'm going through some of my results. So that's been a bummer. Would like to change that trend purely because, well, those are the people who believe me the most. And obviously that truly, they're just the best. So yeah, we're going to be turning that around here. Turn around. Although we had a pretty nice pick'em weekend until Sunday, that was as well. Overall, though, feel good about the analysis, feel good about the process, and I've got 4 NBA plays, 1 NFL play. We got a ton to get to here on this video, super late. It is after 2 a.m. right now on the East Coast. It is 11 p.m. on the West Coast. And I'm starting to lose my voice because I've been up since 6 a.m. So we're ready to rock, ready to roll here. But I love my job, and I love being able to give you the best analysis possible. Where do I give you this analysis, my friends? The Tails app. Download the Tails app. Take advantage of this right now. Go to the App Store, go to Google Play. Take advantage. Download the Tails app where you can get tons of free analysis, not just from myself, but from some great people who have actually initially started in the Lindy Discord once upon a time. J Metal K absolutely crushed it in the pick'em streets over the course of the last weekend. I believe he was number 1 in profit over the course of the last week as well from posted plays over on Tails. Shout out J Metal K, good people. Plus, we got my guy B Grebs in there as well. Absolutely love to see it. We got my guy John the Bettist. Absolutely love to see it. Who sharp NBA analysis day in, day out. Getting ahead of the curve there, getting ahead of some line movement. That's the stuff I love to see. Those 3 specifically, wanted to give them a shout out because not only do I enjoy their presence in my Discord, but I just think they're sharp people that you should be tailing, because anytime free information can be thrown out there for the people, I cannot tell you enough how helpful that can be to your betting journey. And also, it's nice for me to be able to just get plays in the NHL streets, click buttons, and make money. That's really enjoyable for me. So download the Tails app, check it all out. If you guys want to give us a review, that goes a long way as well towards building this thing we call Tails. Plus, be like Lindy, join Tails today. If you haven't taken advantage of this, well, I don't know what to tell you. Check out Tails. Plus, if you've got some of that analysis in the MMA streets, the NHL streets, whatever it might be, please fire it up. Would love to see it. I just fixed my microphone. Holy crap. That had to be annoying to start off. Alrighty. Whatever. Let's get to place. All right, microphone fixed. That's good to know. Way to go, producer Eric. Again, it's early in the morning on the East Coast and super late West Coast. Let's talk some basketball. These are just leans. Again, 6 plays, 6 games. We've got 10 total games on the board that I broke down, and I waited for props as long as I could. And it's ironic because 3 of the plays out of the 4 are not props. That's not typical for me, but I know I'm going to get a ton of props in the premium Discord, and God forbid I don't end up on the winning side of some of those. But we look at Detroit taking on Indy, 9.5 points here. I almost pulled the trigger on this. I already have 2 spreads, which is just insane for me once again, but lots of injury news that had been existing on the Indy side, but it's kind of set in stone now We got Aaron Nesmith dinged up, Obi Toppin still dinged up, John Furphy still dinged up, Cam Jones still dinged up, and Quentin Jackson, which again, none of these things would normally matter, but when you have Halliburton out for the season and you've got a ton of other dinged up human beings, it's a problem. And Detroit, confirmed good at the defense. 234.5 total is a little bit higher purely because Indy is bringing that pace, no treble, but the Detroit side, Cade Cunningham has been a god. Jalen Duren, 11.5 rebounds, low opening number at some pick'em sites. I would be jumping on that sooner rather than later. Already fired it up in an underdog pick'em card, 6-pick underdog card. Those don't show up very often for me, but had 3 in the NBA streets. I wanted to fire up 3 in the NFL streets, and we'll talk about why. But Indy plus 9.5, staying away from that one for now. We'll say Ben Shepherd. Weird to see him back in that starting lineup. Also Isaiah Jackson. Jalen Duren on the other side. This might be a double-double spot. And I've successfully somehow tailed both DKDFS and myself because, again, fired it up twice. 3 times I've bet Isaiah Jackson over the course of the last 2 weeks. Both times cashed massive plus money tickets on double-doubles. Over plus 1,000, over plus 700, and then the other one did not win. So overall, feel pretty good about the process on that. Please drop Isaiah Jackson props. That'd be nice too. Mobley, over 3.5 assists. This one I didn't really see coming purely because Darius Garland, doubtful. I thought he'd be back here. It's more injury maintenance madness, but both teams on a back-to-back, and now we're going north of the border. Cleveland then has to travel. It's always annoying to travel to Toronto because you have to go through customs, although I'm very aware from word of mouth that it's pretty easy for NBA players to just simply get into Canada. They have a pretty quick process of how it's set up, but it's an extra hurdle that you don't have to do anytime you're in the States. So Mobley over 3.5 assists again. But the analysis on that is purely to say that it is tough, and you can expect some high variance outcomes when teams go there north of the border on a back-to-back. We've taken advantage of that a couple of times over the last few years, although very, very, very small sample size of me betting against it. We got ourselves Portland money line coming up next. One thing I wanted to touch on, Jakob Poeltl, off the injury report, he had injury maintenance that he was out for. This is that back-to-back I talked about before. Sandro Mamukashvili did get the start, but now Colin Murray-Boyles is off the injury report. I think prop-wise, it really mucks up anything I want to do with Poeltl, anything I want to do with Mamukashvili. Probably going to be unders or pass there, which is not fun because I thought it was going to be a spot that we could take advantage of. Portland money line, friends. This is just dicey. They get their ass kicked by Oklahoma City, but no fourth quarterness. And now Shaedon Sharpe potentially comes back for this. Milwaukee's only 1.5 point favorites as is right now, 235 total. And you're getting this weird starting lineup. Kuzma and Portis starting together alongside Miles Turner. I thought they would kind of stick to the process, stick to the script. But Gary Trent now coming off the bench. Kind of a weird one for me. I think there's a lot of size for Portland. Denny Avdia is basically playing point guard for this team now. I mean, Shaedon Sharpe comes alongside that. That is a huge front court in Avdia, Kamara, Grant, Klingon. So as big as Kuzma, Portis, Turner are in the front court, this is somehow an interesting one because Denny Avdia, tallest out of the main 4 guys there outside of Klingon, who is just a monster in the post. But Portland money line, Ryan Rollins. Do I feel like betting against my guy here right now? I don't at the moment. He is very confirmed coming, and he's breaking out in his 4th NBA season. Absolutely love that guy. Speaking of breaking out, Derek Queen has had multiple people singing his praises. Nikola Jokic, I've seen on Twitter, people going gaga for Queen. He's a killer. Queen. It's a good song. Anyway, we got Derek Queen here at 12.5 rebounds plus assists. He really has this assist rate spiking, but one key thing to point out here, it was a back-to-back, and they were sitting out there without anybody whatsoever. And now Zion's off the injury report for tomorrow. I think I'm going to wait for this to come down in an earlier round. Could we get 11.5? Because he's going to be starting going forward for this team. He showed out way too well. He's going to play over Kevon Looney, who has no offensive game and is questionable for this. And Evis Missy, it was never really working out for him there in New Orleans. We got Reed Shepherd, who, again, bright spot for me on Friday in a very dim day. Reed Shepherd over 17.5 points. That's a big number, but I talked about a couple of the reasons why I liked betting his entire portfolio the other night. Kevin Durant out for a family matter, a personal matter the next 2 games. And now Tari Eason. I mean, Tari Eason was the original guy who was out. Kevin Durant played Friday and it didn't matter. We just jammed that and it was nice. but I assume they still want Reed coming off of the bench. Amon Thompson, Josh Okogie, Jabari Smith Jr., Şengün and Adams, they've gone to the double big front court, but with Adams questionable, and Durant's out, and they need to produce scoring, and this is a Phoenix team that defensively has been pretty decent, with Dillon Brooks and Royce O'Neal kind of leading the charge in that starting unit. Another interesting one with Mark Williams, doubtful on the other side. Not a lot of rim presence there. Reed Shepherd's one of those guys who can get to the mid-range. He's a smaller dude, but that is a scorer. Reed Shepherd over 17.5. I'm really considering this, but just on the outside looking in, I'm going to be really pissed if this gets to 18.5, 19.5, because I feel like 17.5 is still a little early to the party based on his usage. And again, Kevin Durant out, that is the gigantic piece there. Şengün, he can score, but definitely a great creator as well. Curious to see if they're not going to start him. They're not going to start him. I doubt they go to Şengün at the 5, although with Royce O'Neal, Iguodaro, I assume Iguodaro is going to be starting. Ryan Dunn is questionable. So many pieces of injury news that can shift that game from a prop perspective. Alrighty, last one on the lean department. Jazz taking on Golden State, -14. So hard early in the season for me to pull the trigger on some of these longer spread favorites. Now, some dogs we've taken some money on, and we're going to have a long-range dog here from the spread department as well. But Draymond Green questionable for this one. You have Al Horford who's going to be out for a while. Jonathan Kuminga, just bad situation altogether. Golden State didn't really want him, kind of forced their own hand to keep him and potentially use him as a trade asset. And Steve Kerr's talking about his knee, just not really recuperating here. This is going to be a problem for them. If they want to try to turn him into an asset, they really kind of screwed the pooch, big time in this offseason. Probably tried to lock him into a deal. It's just weird that those sides couldn't come together, or that they hate Kuminga as much as what they do. As for the Utah side, they're on a back-to-back. Lauri Markkanen, Jusuf Nurkic. Do we get both of them here? Very tough for me to get an idea, but coming off of that Lakers game, definitely one I want to be paying attention to, because we've had guys I just assume Kevin Love isn't going to play, for what it's worth. That's just an assumption I have, but anyway, lots of news still waiting in the wings there. Plus, Collier, Filipowski, guys who have been dinged up over the course of the last few months, last few weeks even, last few days for Kyle Filipowski. Does everybody play on the back-to-back? I'm not positive. There's going to be something to mine out of that one, so pay close attention. Also pay close attention, once again, tails, down at the link below. Before we get ourselves to the plays, and we've got lots of them, 5 in total. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Tails is where you want to be. Sign up, check it out down at the link below, and then over at the old App Store. That would be very helpful as well. Let's get to the plays. Alrighty, y'all. Hit that like button for me if you could, because again, we're burning not even the midnight oil, the 2 a.m. oil. The New York Knicks taking on the Brooklyn Nets. And this, friends, is disturbing. And this is really kind of just where the math comes into it. I have this closer to 10. We're going to bet Brooklyn, and here are a couple of the main reasons why. First off, I don't completely trust this team without OG Anunoby there. In Jalen Brunson, Jordan Clarkson is your backcourt. Just fine with, but defensively, that is brutality. Now, it's helpful on the other side with it being Brooklyn with Igor Demine and Terrence Mann, some absolute dusty filthiness on the Brooklyn side. But Michael Porter Jr. usage has been out of control, and the efficiency has been up this year. Not necessarily what a lot of people expected. I did, because purely I thought Michael Porter Jr. is a really good talent. Somebody that if he didn't have a back injury coming out of Missouri would have been probably the top 2 or 3 pick in the NBA draft. Denver got a steal. They give him the big contract. Defensively, schematically, didn't exactly work out the way that Denver wanted to. And that's why we ran into this. Cameron Johnson has been the letdown spot. And I think if you could flippy-floppy that back, you probably would if you're Denver. But Nikola Jokic just looked all right. That's for sure. Brooklyn plus 14.5. Give me the points here. I know Brooklyn on a back-to-back, very difficult spot. But when you're getting nearly 15 this early in the season, I have to be taking that here, purely because of the Knicks. I don't trust them in their current iteration. Let's continue on our merry way. Holy crap. Got my Pellegrino because I'm fancy as fuck. God damn it. These caps suck. Monchali. All right, Dallas taking on Miami here as we continue on our merry way. Hit that like button again. We got ourselves Brandon Williams questionable for this one as we enter Dallas and Miami. And that's kind of the beginning of this. D'Angelo Russell had a rumbliness, tumbly illness, ended up getting ruled out last time around. And Derek Lively already confirmed out, which isn't ideal. Anthony Davis doubtful, but we're probably going to get a near full strength Miami team. You have Wiggins and Jovic both questionable, but I assume as of right now that they both suited up. And a couple of things. Man, losing my voice. F it, we do it live. We got ourselves Miami. And I ran some of the pace metrics with Wiggins back in. And again, Miami had been playing at a breakneck, just absolute absurd pace to start off the season. In fact, they are still number one in pace in the entire NBA, 106.8 possessions per 48 minutes. They're 11-6. They continue to win basketball games because Eric Spoelstra is a genius and decided Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo, let's start playing them together as Khalil Ware is starting to figure it out here. Again, it's his second year in the NBA. Sometimes it takes a little time. Sometimes. Ryan Rollins, fourth year in the NBA for him, and I don't think anybody who's watched Ryan Rollins play basketball this year would say that he has been a letdown in any way, shape, or form. Exact opposite. And Khalil Ware, I think he's going to kind of show out here alongside Bam. Do they start Khalil Ware, though, when Andrew Wiggins comes back? I'm not sure. I doubt you bring Andrew Wiggins off the bench. Maybe Pell Larson. Maybe Pell Larson goes back to the bench and they decide to go Ware and Bam Adebayo here. But lots of curious things that can happen there with that lineup. My big thing is if you lose Brandon Williams here and you put D'Angelo Russell back into this starting lineup where it'd be a great matchup for him, 239 and a half total pretty much everywhere, you'd think that he'd play better than he had in a couple of these starts, but it's actually slowed down for Dallas here a couple of times with him on the floor. So Brandon Williams, if he's questionable and he ends up sitting, and I have him closer to sitting, again, I have it 45-55, pretty split, but a little bit more on the side of him potentially sitting. And Ryan Nembhard, who can play point guard behind it there as well, questionable, even though hasn't really been in the rotation a lot here for Jason Kidd from the get-go. Interesting stuff overall, where I think the under becomes a little bit interesting to everybody involved. 239 and a half. I know it's not the sexiest play, and I know a lot of people don't want their unders day before, but I'm just fine in the totals department. Hard for me to ever bet unders on this program because injury news. Injury news breaks, you take an under, it's only going to penalize you like 99% of the time. And that's why, I'm going to use Portfolio EV. I'm going to use a lot of the tools at my disposal. And as the season goes along, we're going to have a lot more show up in the premium Discord. But totals themselves, I'm happy to fire up in this capacity, especially because right now, Brandon Williams closer to sitting for me ever so slightly. And that is kind of leaning this in favor of Dallas not really being able to create a lot of offense. PJ Washington, Cooper Flagg, both off the injury report. Doubt that we have any issues with them. Also, 11-11 West Coasters. Make a wish. 239 and a half total. I like it. Alrighty, y'all. Denver, minus 7.5 taking on Memphis here in this spot. Nikola Jokic, confirmed good at basketball. Peyton Watson, confirmed good at basketball. We're seeing some massive stuff happen with him. By the way, 11.5 points is opening number. Yeah, we might want to be betting more on that, but I need to rerun some stuff, and I'm going to before I go to bed here. Although my wife has texted me 48 times. I love my wife. I need to go to bed. But we got ourselves an interesting one purely because I think this is a great spot to snag some points. 7.5 points here to get with Memphis is pretty nifty. We saw them blitzkrieg for us last time around. We bet Memphis, and boy, that worked out pretty well. Vince Williams really establishing himself as a better than most point guard option. I didn't see that one coming. I don't know. That feels like when you had to be at the rec, to be able to go see exactly how that was going to play out, because nobody who's ever watched him play basketball before, who actually knows ball, would say Vince Williams Jr. was going to be a functional point guard. But Cedric Howard, decent enough piece, and Jaren Jackson Jr. upgraded to questionable. Would really like him to be in, despite the fact that he hasn't had a great season so far. And Zach Edey. Zach Edey is starting to show out a little bit. Not slimmed down, but he's just a tall drink of water out there in the middle of the lane, making it difficult on some pieces. Is he going to make it difficult on Jokic? No. 30.5 point prop at open? Come on now. But I like the idea of this one staying a little bit closer than the spread indicates, because Aaron Gordon adds a lot to this team, both not just the shooting we saw in the first game out of the gate, because, again, 3-point shooting, that is really what has carried the day for Aaron Gordon the last 2 years, and why Denver has really showed out, even though it's a couple of years removed from their title now, and Aaron Gordon was a part of that with that trade. But I look at Memphis plus 7.5 with Spencer Jones, Spencer Jones potentially being your starter going forward, more minutes for Tim Hardaway Jr., Bruce Brown. Not ideal for them overall in Memphis. They're a little bit deeper than you might think. Cam Spencer, Santi Aldama. I'm all right with some of these pieces. Jock Landale off the injury report behind one Zach Edey. We're going to rock with it. We're going to roll with it. Memphis will take 7.5 points. So 2 dogs that we're going to be backing, getting the points. And we round it all out with my Minnesota Timberwolves before we turn it over to the NFL streets. And Sacramento, absolute shambles. This is probably the most ridiculous basketball team, most ridiculous configuration of a basketball team that I can remember in a long, long time. Said it when the trade happened. This isn't hindsight being 2020. And I mean, we're going to see New Orleans. They're like a 2-15 basketball team. And yet we're really excited about Derek Queen and Zion Williamson being back. And there can be good players on bad basketball teams, but we have the aging all-stars of Russell Westbrook, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. That is brutality. You've got off the bench Dennis Schroeder, who I like as a piece, have forever, German national team finest. And then another guy, Malik Monk, who can go get you a bucket, go create a little bit if need be. But God darn it, outside of Keegan Murray, there's not a lot of youth that exists on this basketball team. And even Keegan Murray, in his 3rd year here now, and he's not going to go create for himself. He can definitely go knock down some corner threes for you from day to day, but we'll see him as he starts to progress. We got Precious Achiuwa on this team as well. Lots of weird stuff in terms of EPM over on Dunks and Threes, where I'm plugging these players in, trying to figure out exactly what to make of it. I almost bet Minnesota -9, but ended up on something that I think is better. And it's ironic because props are what I stayed up late for. And this is the only one on the card so far. Naz Reid over 12.5 points. We've seen his usage go up nearly 2% over the course of the last 2 weeks, which I think is explainable because there's been more minutes and more opportunity because Jaden McDaniels' usage has been up year over year, and he got dinged up with the wrist. But he's good going forward, not going to be on the injury report whatsoever unless something happens tomorrow. And in some of these spots where you get them nearly double-digit favorites, Naz Reid will just shut down games, close out games. He is Inferno at the end of first quarters, beginning of second quarters. That's kind of his primary rotation into second halves. And Sacramento, man, they are dead last in the NBA at field goal percentage at the rim. Dead last at field goal percentage in the mid-range so far. They have not done anything. And Naz Reid, while he can be a three-point specialist, can get you a bucket in a variety of ways. I'm going to test the limits of such things with Naz Reid over 12.5 points. I like that for pick'em formats, especially for some of the pick'em people out there as well. Because again, it hits the -122 threshold for something that I've already bet over at FanDuel. Well, you best believe that's going to be above the break-even number for those optimal 3-pick cards. So check it out. Last time, I know I brought it up a lot today, but download the Tails app. Would love for you to check it out. That's really it. Let's get to the NFL streets. Carolina taking on San Francisco. Wowzer, 49.5 total. I mean, we're just buying in to Bryce Young right off the get-go, but I didn't mean to do this, but it's just kind of what happened. I have a lock in this game. My favorite play, I think, of the entire NFL season, and I know it to be so because I hate this player, actually. He's on the Carolina side, so we're going to save that one for a little bit. And people who know me to be a Jatavian Sanders guy, yeah, you're correct. It's not Jatavian Sanders, but 16.5 receiving yards still something that I think we might have to dip our toes into here. Some more 2 tight end type sets coming up here in the near future. But let's touch the San Francisco side because you ended up getting back. You ended up getting back Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy in his first game there against Arizona, week 11, just win nutties. I mean, 3 touchdowns, super clean, 133 passer rating. No rushing attempts whatsoever. I think 1 rushing attempt for negative yardage, actually. Went back and watched some of that game because that's what you can do for these standalone games is like, oh, I'm going to watch the tape. But it was more just to see how Brock Purdy was moving, have anything that I could mine out. And at the end of the day, I do think San Francisco, the rightful favorites here, but 7.5. Getting the hook is a little bit interesting because Carolina's defense, I think, has been a massive surprise on the season. That's why they have the record that they do, that they have a winning record. And obviously that Atlanta game wasn't exactly ideal. They ended up in an absolute shootout, going to overtime, 30-27. They found themselves on the better end of it. But, my friends, even though San Francisco gets Ricky Pearsall back and Juwan Jennings, and they're getting healthier, slowly but surely, their defense is still absolutely decimated. And we got a guy over on the Carolina side. His name is Xavier Legette. And I do not think Xavier Legette is very good at football at all. I think his separation scores are not very good. I don't think he's a particularly smart football player out on the field, making kind of boneheaded decisions in terms of route tree, in terms of how to potentially get himself open. He's a big, wide body, but overall, I just haven't been that impressed. And yet, starting to accumulate some red zone looks, starting to accumulate regular looks within the schematic, just the framework of the offense. I don't agree that Jalen Coker should have a higher receiving yards prop, 29.5, 30.5, as opposed to Xavier Legette, who is at 23.5. And these lines have been out for a couple of days. And if I had noticed this one ahead of time, I probably would have included it on the NFL video from Sunday, which again, nice for it to be profitable with some nice plus money touchdowns, but I'm locking it up. Xavier Legette over 23.5 receiving yards. It's a little bit juiced, minus 115, minus 114 at Onyx odds, but here's the problem. I don't really give a shit. I think Xavier Legette is just undervalued here. He had 8 targets against the Atlanta Falcons, who their defense has been a problem, no doubt about it. Had 4 catches for 83 yards, but what I'm really encouraged by was the fact that he had a 36-yard catch, that he's had some longer ADOTs along with it. When you're looking at receiving yards, always nice to know that the upside to get there in one catch exists for a guy that I don't exactly project a ton of workload, but he's had 11 targets and 8 targets in 2 specific weeks over the course of this entire season. He's had 8, 7, in addition to 1, 3, 3, 3, 2. I think this falls more into the category of the 8, 7, 11s than it does anything else. And I think this is just criminally undervalued. I see a lot of places that I trust that are nearly north of 40 yards. That's me too, by the way. Xavier Legette, over 23.5 receiving yards. My favorite bet of the day. One of my favorite bets of the entire year in the NFL streets. Get it done, Xavier. And I, again, repeat, I think he's terrible at football. Let's get ourselves the heck up out of here. Download the Tails app. I'm losing my voice, so I should stop talking. And that does it for another edition of NBA and NFL Lindy Slings, Likes, and Locks. Head to the comment section below. Let me know how your NFL Sunday was. Let me know if you tailed on the Hunter Henry. Again, Ashton Genty, I don't think is particularly good at football or deserving of that pick, but still will bet him to score a touchdown. So these are the things you do, not for love, but for the name of the game, which is making money. Let's do that here on Monday. Get ourselves off to a good start this week here, especially in the NBA streets, which were not fruitful last week for me. Time to bounce back, friends. Until next time, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NBA and NFL streets on Monday. See ya on Tuesday. 3-gamer in the NBA streets. Should be easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl. I should just hit end recording. Bye.